thought moved down a little bit.
No, you know, in the first thing in the morning, before I get out of bed at 6, the quarter after 6, and I go, you know, go take my shower and go.
Skip's not up there.
Mr. Skip.
You take the wrong one.
Skip took Brian's.
Just up and down.
You got forgotten.
Where was it?
Over that way. They totally forgot it.
Cooperation among council, right? Right.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
We get a little yellow people. Put some stuff up. And I'm gonna get mine fixed up today. Fix me up today with some dye.
Hold your questions at the end. Yeah.
Have a haircut for 3 months. When my home, grew up. Yeah, I wanted to chat. I was almost gonna do that.
Oh, Tim the barber.
He's not here.
He's talking about a room.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to call the council meeting for September 11th, 2023 to order. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to have a moment of silence, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sabosley, if you do roll call, please.
Mr. Delaney?
Here.
Mr. Dern?
Here.
Mr. Doyle's not present. Mr. Hadley?
Here.
Mr. Seitz is not present. Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Vento is not present. Mayor Schlegel?
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of August 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Taylor and a second by Mr. Hadley. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the expenses for the month of August 2023.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Hadley. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 23rd, 2023 council meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Hadley. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Recognition of achievements in the community.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joe, would you please come up here? You know, one of the great pleasures I have of being mayor is I get to recognize people's accomplishments. And this proclamation is recognizing Joseph Fischel as teacher extraordinaire. Whereas, for over 28 years, Joe Fischel dedicated himself to teaching children who attended Plum Boro schools. And whereas, Mr. Fischel served not only as a special education teacher, but as the Dean of Students and acting liaison for students and families. As principal at O Block Junior High School for 14 years and principal of the Plum Senior High School before returning to his true love of affecting the future by teaching elementary school. And Whereas Mr. Fischel is far more than a classroom teacher in that he cares personally for each child who is one of his students. And whereas Mr. Fischel made a significant difference in the lives of literally hundreds of students and their families. And whereas Mr. Fischel is a tremendous teacher who goes above and beyond the daily classroom curriculum by teaching students their self-worth. As a football, wrestling, cross-country, and track coach, he taught the value of hard work, dedication, and how to push through when one is tired. And whereas Mr. Fischel has always been a stable force for good in Plum Boro and the Plum Boro School District, and whereas Mr. Fischel's students adore him and he adores them, his students are his family. And whereas Mr. Fischel, with a contagious smile, a positive attitude, and love of his students, is, in the hearts of all his students, a teacher extraordinaire. Therefore be it known that I, as mayor, along with the Council of Plum Boro, give heartfelt gratitude and thanks to Joe for his dedication to teaching and to improving the life of each student who crossed his path during his tenure at Plum Boro School District. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of Plum Boro to be affixed this 11th day of September, 2023. Joe, thank you for all you've done. Now, immediately following the recent tragedy we had here in the community, within an hour, I had calls from two people. One of them, Michael Raschuti. Michael, would you please come up? The questions they asked immediately, what can I do? What can we do to help? What do they need? And they took it upon themselves. So this certificate of appreciation is presented to Michael Raschuti. Whereas thoughtfulness and service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. And whereas voluntary donations of an individual's resources are an essential part of the American spirit, and that small things matter and can make a big impact on someone and a community. And whereas it is even more evident that Plum Boro's greatest assets or its natural resources is its people. And whereas Michael Raschuti of Schuti's Restaurant is a shining example of this resource and deserving of our praise and gratitude for making a positive difference in the Plum community during the recent tragedy. And whereas Michael Raschuti generously volunteered his time, money, and resources to ensure that our first responders and those affected were provided with food and water as a sign of his appreciation for all they do. Michael also made a significant monetary donations and hosted a kickball tournament to raise money for those affected by the tragedy. Whereas Michael exemplifies the community spirit that helped to build Plum Boro and demonstrated that it is alive and strong today. And whereas in each year, many citizens commit their time, talent, and resources to improve the quality of life for our entire community, few can achieve the degree of generosity and commitment of Michael Raschuti. Therefore be it resolved that I, as mayor, along with council, wish to honor and thank Michael Raschuti for his wholehearted support for contributing to the healing of our community. In so doing, I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor, along with Council, call upon all citizens to help renew and sustain the American spirit, demonstrated by Michael Raschuti in emulating his example and committing themselves to address the needs of the Plum Boro community through voluntary action. Michael, thank you very much. had another person that called me within an hour of the tragedy and asked the same questions that Mike has. And that was Gina D'Arcerno of John Anthony's. Whereas thoughtfulness and service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. And whereas voluntary donation of an individual's resource are an essential part of the American spirit, and that small things matter and can make a big impact on someone in a community. It is even more evident that Plum Boro's greatest natural resource is its people. And whereas Gina D'Arcerno of John Anthony's Restaurant is a shining example of this resource and deserving of our praise and gratitude for making a positive difference in the Plum community during the recent tragedy. And whereas Gina D'Arcerno generously volunteered her time, money, and resources to ensure that our first responders and those affected were provided with food and water. Gina provided a total of 595 meals over several days, as well as gift cards. And whereas Gina exemplifies the community spirit that helped to build Plum Boro and demonstrated it is alive and strong today. And whereas each year many citizens commit their time, talents, and resources to improve the quality of life of our entire community, few can achieve that degree of generosity and commitment of Gina D'Arcerno. Therefore be it resolved that I, as mayor, along with council, wish to honor and thank Gina for her wholehearted support for contributing to the healing and of our community. In so doing, I, Harry R. Schlegel, as mayor, along with council, wish to honor and thank Gina D'Arcerno for her wholehearted support for contributing to the building of our community. In so doing, I, along with council, wish to honor and thank Gina for her wholehearted support for contributing to the healing of our community. And I got out of place there, but again, I will get this to Gina. She's not here tonight. And one final one, and this is indeed an honor and a pleasure. Would you please come up? I did not know of this lady. No, I did not. And I did not know all you've done. I had mentioned last Wednesday to council that I was doing these proclamations. And both Dan and Paul said, why aren't you doing one for Peyton? And I said, who's Peyton? That's me. All right. You've been flying under the radar for a long time, for many years. And you've been doing a lot of things, and you do not advertise it. You just go and do it. So with that, it's basically the same proclamation. However, whereas thoughtfulness and service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. And whereas voluntary donations of an individual's resources are an essential part of the American spirit, and that small things matter and can make a big impact on someone and a community. And it is even more evident that Plum Boro's greatest natural resource is its people. And whereas Peyton McCune of Le Lulu's Pizza is a shining example of this resource and deserving of our praise and gratitude for making a positive difference in the Plum community for several years. And whereas Peyton McCune has generously volunteered her time, money, and resources to ensure that our first responders and those affected by the recent tragedy were provided with over 100 pizzas and subs. And over the years, Peyton has organized events such as kickball tournaments and donation drives for a local women and children's shelter, in addition to raising over $70,000 since 2020. And whereas Peyton exemplifies the community spirit that helped to build Plum Boro and demonstrated it is alive and strong today. And whereas each year many citizens commit their time, talents, and resources to improve the quality of life for our entire community, few can achieve the degree of generosity and commitment of Peyton. Therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor, along with council, wish to honor and thank Peyton McCune for her wholehearted support for contributing to the healing of our community. In so doing, I, Harry R. Schlegel, Mayor along with Council, call upon all citizens to help renew and sustain the American spirit demonstrated by Peyton in emulating her example and committing themselves to address the needs of the Plum Boro community through voluntary action. And Peyton, I'm sorry I didn't hear of you sooner. But you do a lot of wonderful things, and that's a great thing. Thank you.
To add to that, weren't you close today in giving out free pizzas to all the first responders, no matter where they are from? That's phenomenal. That's. You're welcome.
Now, I'm going to ask, thank you.
So there's a woman in the audience, and she just made us aware that Peyton also fed students during the COVID shutdown. So yeah, you are, no.
No.
You're marvelous.
You come up for a breath of fresh air and let us see what kind of a person you are. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I'm going to offer the community a challenge, and that is stop by Shooties, J.A.'s, and Megan's at Lulelo's Pizza. Stop by, have a bite to eat, have a drink, and say thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. And yeah, another round of applause for everybody. You're truly sensational, and this is part of what makes this borough so special.
Yes.
So thank you. Okay, civic announcements. Anyone have anything that they'd like to bring up and announce? No? Okay, brings me to President's comments, and I have two things. Since we're short-staffed with council tonight, we have a couple people reading all the reports. So I am going to give the stormwater update that was given to me by KU. The O-Block Pond, the joint permit and the NPDES were successfully obtained during the month of August. The project will be placed out to bid in the near future, meaning by the end of this month or next month, and we're working that into the budget for 2024. So that'll be one of the projects that gets done first thing next year. Center Beach, the flowage easements have been finalized during the month of September and will be sent to the affected property owners for their review. Once flowage easements are obtained, submission of the dam permit, joint permit, and NPDES permit will occur concurrently. We had a complaint on Old Farm Road. We had our Public Works Director go out there and take care of that, and that'll be taken care of in the near future. The staff in Public Works will be walking along the creek bed to get a final objective opinion of what needs to be sent to the Turnpike Commission for them to put on their agenda to get taken care of down there along that corridor of Anderson Avenue. I'm going to move into the EMS report for the month of August. They had total responses of 287. Total patients transported, 157. Responses to other communities for mutual aid, 21. And 16 of those responses resulted in a transport to the hospital. Total mutual aid received into Plum, 17. 6 of those occurred on August 12th. And out of all the emergencies for Plum EMS, 6.25% were turned over to the neighboring EMS communities. The EMS news. Along with running emergency calls over the past month, Plum EMS Director Brian Maloney, who just cycled over 150 miles this past weekend during the Pennsylvania EMS Memorial Ride, recognizing EMS providers who died in the line of duty. And special recognition goes out to first responder Mark Ellis of Renton Volunteer Fire Department, who died in the line of duty last year while responding to a medical call and being there for the community. EMT Andre Ossie of Plum EMS was one of the 14 EMS professionals in the Commonwealth to receive a Star of Life Award for his years of excellence and dedication to the community. Andre received this award during a banquet in Harrisburg this past weekend. And upcoming, Plum EMS's annual car seat safety clinic will be on Saturday, September 16th. Registration is required, and you can visit the Facebook page and get additional details there for that registration. And that's all I have. So we move on to citizens' comments of agenda items, and no one has signed up, but if anyone's changed their mind, come forward. Okay, we'll move into council actions. We go with Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Paul. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to award the Whispering Pines bond bid to S&E Utility Contracting, Inc. in the amount of $73,800.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Delaney. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Hadley. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to approve an easement with the Whispering Pines HOA.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Do we have any discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to accept the Dollar General Simple Subdivision FSC-02-23 as complete.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hadley. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Lastly, I move to adopt Resolution 962-23 outlining a sewage planning module for 150 Nichols Drive.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Mr. Hadley, Personnel and Management, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to approve a cost of living increase for a retired police officer as recommended by the Borough Actuary.
I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Hadley. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to accept the resignation of Police Officer Jacob Plonsky, effective end of shift September 15th, 2023.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Delaney. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. And we come back to you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. On behalf of the Public Safety Committee, I move to authorize the expenditure of required matching funds for intersection cameras for the Plum Boro Police Department.
I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Hadley. Any discussion?
Just one question, my understanding is that the police budget's gonna handle that? It's gonna be
Mr.
handled?
Sabazia?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's it for the Public
Well,
Safety.
we're going to stick with you here for Parks
Okay.
and Rec.
On behalf of the Parks and Rec Committee, I move to approve a special use permit for Holy Family Parish use of the soccer fields at Larry Mills Park.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Delaney. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, I move to approve the special use permit for Gamma softball for use of Plum Creek baseball fields on October 14th and 15th.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Delaney. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Back to you, Mr. Delaney, for the Finance Committee report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 960-23, adopting the Minimal Municipal Obligation, MMO, for the Borough of Plum for 2024.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to waive the penalty, interest, and lien fees on borough taxes for 2021 for Block 734-K-241 based on the recommendation of the real estate tax collector in Allegheny County.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hadley. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to waive the outstanding balance of borough taxes from 2014 to 2017 for lot block 630-C-238 based on recommendation of the borough solicitor.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Mr. Taylor. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Back to you, Mr. Taylor, for roads, equipment, and grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. On behalf of the Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 961-23, requesting gaming economic development tourism funds and designating the Turtle Creek Valley Council of Governments, otherwise known as the COG, to execute all documents and agreements.
I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Taylor. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Hadley. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That concludes our council actions for this evening. We're going to go to the mayor for his report.
Thank you. In August, our uniformed officer responded to 801 calls during the month, and that was a 7% decrease from July. Our officers participated in a number of special projects in office, including the Shop with a Cop program, where Macy's provided each student with a $250 gift card for back-to-school items. Our police department raised enough money to support 7 additional students with sizable donations from Plum EMS, Dan Hadley, and David Seitz. Officer Kurtz has completed his probationary year with flying colors, and 2 new officers began their probationary period with Plum in August. On August 12th, daylight ships officers Zadbinski, Belton, and Kingersky arrived at Rustic Ridge within 4 minutes of the call and helped to ensure that there were no additional victims or reported injuries. And our department provided scene security and follow-up investigation, interviews, funeral service escorts, and whatever else was asked of them from the numerous agencies that were involved in the aftermath. And Chief Conley wrote, our officers responded with the utmost expediency, professionalism, and courage during the borough's darkest days, and provided a sense of security for the weeks that followed. And for that, I commend them for their efforts. Now we go back to the mayor's idiots list. The ATS radar display was deployed in the 300 block of Logan's Ferry Road. From August 4th through the 18th, a 2-week period, 66,780 vehicles passed that radar sign. We have a large number, we have heavy traffic in our area. And then some idiot decided to do 78 miles an hour on that road, and that is ridiculous. The radar speed display sign was deployed at 340 Old Leechburg Road from August 20th to the 29th. And there was a total of 11,612 vehicles over that 9-day period. The posted speed limit, 35 miles per hour. And some idiot, 71 miles per hour. And the ATS radar speed display was deployed at 3998 New Texas Road for a 10-day period from August 21st to the 31st. The speed limit is 35 miles an hour on New Texas. Some idiot had to do 77 miles per hour. I have to, because I have to be polite here, I have to use it. I have another name for them, but I can't say it. And there were 14,850 vehicles. Our roads have heavy traffic. And that speed sign has very effective rates, averaging about 83%, causing people to slow down. But then there are the idiots that decide to go much, much faster. And now thoughtful citizens. On August 7th, Michael Cerniglia of Michael's Painting brought Oakmont Bakery donuts for the officers as a sign of his appreciation. On August 7th, the Bio1 Biohazard and Cleaning Service brought in pretzels for our officers. August 17th, Dawn Lewis of Tampico Court dropped off donuts to our officers to show her appreciation. On August 18th, Borough residents and Latumas Communication employee Bill Grass and Carla Go provided breakfast sandwiches and pastries from Panera in support of our officers after the Rustic Ridge incident. On August 18th, Greg Fusco of Holiday Park provided lunch from Moe's Southwest Grill for our department to show his appreciation. And on August 27th, Elena Stewart of Stewart's 2 delivered hoagies and potato salad for our department in appreciation of the department's efforts during the Rustic Ridge incident. And today, as I was pulling in my driveway, I got a call from the chief telling me that there were sandwiches and donuts downstairs. Now, he couldn't call me while I was here. They wait until I leave.
It's like they planned it.
So again, I didn't get anything.
Very smart.
Anyway, that's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That moves us to committee reports. We're gonna start with Mr. Hadley with the Intergovernmental Committee.
There's nothing to report. We're meeting tomorrow. On library,
5:15 with the mayor and also Mr. Walsh, Dr. Walsh, Mr. Walsh. Yes. That's it?
That's it, sorry.
Okay. Mr. Delaney, Finance Committee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. For the Finance Committee, general fund highlights. The borough recognized revenues totaling $2,601,859 and incurred expenditures in an amount of $1,603,865. To date, we have received $1,465,901 in the current year real estate tax revenues. This represents 31% of the adopted budget. During the month of August, the borough received $139,944 under cable TV franchise fees, and we are currently at 72% of budget. As a result of higher interest rates, the borough projects that the interest income will be approximately $50,000 over budget. A total of $76,682 was received against the Regional Asset District revenue line and ended August at 81% of budget. Overall, revenues continue to trend slightly over budget. And then the finance director kicked off the 2024 budgeting process, met with department heads, and discussed the timeline through the budget adoption. The finance committee will review the preliminary budget during the month of October in preparation for a presentation at the November 13th council voting meeting. That'll be all, Mr. Dern.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Mr. Taylor, Roads, Equipment, and Grounds, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. The 2023 paving project started this month. Milling was completed in the Unity area, Share Road, and Renton Road. The alleys in Logan's Ferry that were scheduled to be tarred and chipped were canceled due to the ongoing gas line replacement. Renton Park Phase 3 is progressing. Asphalt has been installed for both the basketball and pickleball courts. Ground stabilization for the pickleball courts was completed by our Public Works, which saved the borough approximately $60,000. Inlets and pipe replacement occurred on Renton Road, Harris Road, Nassau Drive, Rip Road, Stotler Road, Ross Hollow, Clements Road, Roberts Road, Malice Road, and all the streets in Renton were cleaned and jetted. The retention pond at L. Francie Building was retrofitted due to the runoff from the new building site. Public Works provided 5 employees and 3 pieces of equipment on site for 2 weeks to support the cleanup and investigation efforts at the Rustic Ridge site, and I don't mind saying they did one heck of a job for us. And that's all I have for that.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. There is no Public Safety Committee report. Mr. Delaney, Planning, Economic Development, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. For the Planning and Economic Development Committee, there were 77 permits issued with $19,983 in revenue. The Planning Commission met in August. The Planning Commission recommended to table Form Architecture's application per the request of the applicant. The Planning Commission recommended to table Dollar General's conditional use application due to insufficient information provided in their submittal. And the Planning Commission accepted YMCA's turf field conversion application for conditional use and land development as complete. For some activity highlights, we continued our work in updating to our GIS map. Staff met with Armendosh HVAC McVeigh Plumbing for a pre-application meeting, and staff met on-site and discussed the Pivot Elementary School pond, meeting MS4 requirements and discussion with HRG. Code enforcement completed 71 residential and apartment occupancy inspections. They addressed 19 complaints for junk debris, abandoned vehicles, vacant structures, chickens, goats, rodents, and an occupancy violation. We also conducted sign removal on August 10th and August 24th. In terms of grants and projects, the 2023 Watershed Restoration Protection Program, $73,000 in funding has been awarded for pond clearing and grubbing at 2 Whispering Pines. 2024 Water Restoration Protection Program, a PRP improvement project, pond cleaning, grubbing submitted for Leanne Court and Cherry Springs Pond. We also submitted a grant for pickleball courts at Larry Mills. That is the Greenway Trails and Recreational Grant. And we are working with another grant for Barnes Road. That'll be all, Mr. Dern.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. And that brings us to Mr. Taylor again for Parks and Rec Committee, please.
Thanks again, Paul. The Monday Farmers Market continues through September at the Plum Creek Park from 4 to 7 p.m. Public Work assists with setup and cleanup for this event each week. And a little bit earlier, the mayor brought to my attention, which was a great point, you know, you drive down there and you see lacrosse practicing, you see football practicing, baseball practicing, and the farmers market going on. And it's just, it's really nice to see that the community is starting to calm down and somewhat try to get some normalcy back. There was minor flooding at Plum Creek Park on August 24th. As a result, the orange fencing will be reinstalled along the beautification creek bank project. The annual Plum Soccer Kickoff Classic Tournament was held August 25th through the 27th and hosted over 300 teams. I believe it was 309 teams. Public Works personnel ensured that fields were cut, trails were cleared, and parking was available at Larry Mills Park and the Plum Creek PMFA fields. Ball field usage permits on August 31st ended. There were 6 teams that had permits to utilize the fields from April 1st through August 31st. And Borough Haps upcoming events include coffee with the mayor and manager on Wednesday, September 20th. You're not inviting the police, are you?
No, no.
Okay, all right. At 6 p.m. in Banquet Hall. Fall Fest on Saturday, September 30th from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Plum Creek Park. And that's all I have, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And that brings us to the citizens' comments on non-agenda items. No one has signed up, but if anyone feels they need to say something, please come forward to the microphone.
Push the red button. The button says push. Press the top. There you go.
Good evening. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Ben DiSabato. My father is the late Paul DiSabato, and my godfather was Michael Thomas. So first, I just want to thank you guys for everything that you guys do here. I've been in the community for 24 years now, so definitely, I mean, Mr. Official made a huge impact on my life in 7th and 8th grade when I decided to go to O-Block Junior High. So just wanted to introduce myself, kind of give a little bit of background on what me and my godfather were kind of working on, honestly, the week before the obvious tragedy. So I'm a strength and conditioning coach, and my goal, similar to what my father would do and my godfather, is to give back to my community. The youth sports in Plum has, shaped a lot of things in my life, and I think it instilled a lot of qualities that I have today that help me with coaching. But what we were working on is, I want to use my knowledge and expertise to give our youth athletes an opportunity to, excel in their athletic endeavors. And that's what we were working on, is bringing a service to our community that is based around athletics and athletic development for our youth sports. We were working on making it available to not only soccer, but every program, and kind of just making it a community-wide thing. So I guess today I just wanted to ask, who could I continue to talk to potentially put that in place here?
You can reach out to Mr. Sabosley. He's our acting borough manager,
Okay,
and he can give you the direction and the information that you may need.
okay, perfect. Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Doyle about it, kind of in the past, month or so, just after everything happened and everything. But yeah, so I was really hoping to continue moving that forward, just to, like I said, keep giving back to my community and hopefully, make an impact. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience, please come forward. Good evening.
For those of you that don't know, I'm Melissa with Angels in Disguise. Sorry, guys. I'm Melissa with Angels in Disguise, and I do have a question. We are actually working very closely with the families that were devastated at Rustic Ridge. A lot of people don't know, but I try to check in a few times weekly, visit with them, so we are in communication. And one question that we had was about having their grass cut. They reached out to the HOA twice without results. They asked me, I reached out to someone from Rustic Ridge, and they refused to give me the name of the company that's actually supposed to be cutting the grass. So if we could please have somebody reach out and get the grass cut, because it may seem like something little to all of us, but to them it's bad enough to see their house destroyed, and then to see what they worked so hard on, the grass getting higher and higher, and it's a concern. So if somebody can look into that for us, we would really appreciate that.
We discussed that before the meeting, and Mr. Sabosley is going to reach out and contact some people.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Yep,
And
thank you.
Melissa, I was just going to say the same thing. Thank you for all the
Yes.
angels have done and continue to do.
You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you. Under such horrible circumstances, but we're glad that we were there to help, and we are. People just don't know we're paying a lot of them have.
If you turn your microphone on, we can hear you.
I'm not good at this. I don't like public speaking, but a lot of them have deposits their insurance aren't paying for at their new locations, $4,000. Some of them actually have to pay $1,000 for their rental furniture people aren't aware of. And their mortgage payments at Rustic Ridge are due for this month. So this week alone, we are writing out another $20,000 in checks. So we're at about $125,000 to $140,000 that we have written to the people directly and to nobody else. We've paid for some cremations, some celebrations of life. So that's some of the things that we're doing, and every penny that we have received is going directly to the families and not to anybody else. So that's where we are at this point in time.
And that's why, Melissa, when I was asked can I make checks to donations to, I told them to make it to the Angels. Because again, I trust you people.
Thank
Your
you.
100% of everything you got was turned over. And you were also one of the first groups to reach out and do something positive, contributed to the healing. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
And I second that. Several people have asked me, and I said Angels Disguise.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Anybody that has faith in us that gave us their donations, and there were a lot, and it's time consuming. I don't think people realize we logged every penny, thousands of gift cards. We could tell you where every single penny came from. We have photocopies of every single check. So our books are always open for anybody to come and see, take a look, but just for everybody to know that every single penny, except for the $63 we got charged for the checks, every other penny is going to the people, and will continue. And we're going to hold some money back because some people still don't know if their houses are going to be demolished or if they're going to be able to be saved. So a lot of people are in limbo right now.
And just so you know, next year, Shooties is coming back with a real good kickball team.
Okay. And next year I might have a seat up there too. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.